Peace, 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 peace. Yo, we back at it. Where's the love of Saw M Hotep? Um, I'm at chapter 4. Yeah, I'm on chapter 4. It says, "What is love? The African context." A Jewish blogger by the name of Elad Nahorai recently wrote an article titled, "I didn't love my wife when we got married." This essay is especially about how the author thought love was an emotion, but later came to understand that it wasn't an emotion at all, but an action. I found this article to be very valuable in relation to the question of what is love. Nahorai begins his story at the time he met his soon-to-be wife and the emotions that he was feeling at the time. I am a ridiculous, emotional, over-sentimental sap. I guess that's why I told my wife I love her on our second date. I had tried really hard up to that point to hold it back honestly. I wanted to tell her on the first date, but I knew that would probably be weird. I still remember her reaction. She kind of gave me this half shy, half amused smile. Then she nodded and looked off into the sky. I wasn't feeling heartbroken by the response. I think that part of me recognized that she was much smarter and more modest than me. But as time had gone on, I also realized that she knew something that I didn't. Like most Hasidic Jews, we both became religious later in life. Our dating period lasted a very short time. After 2 months of dating, we were engaged. 3 months after that, we were married. And that whole time I was swooning, the fire was burning in me. A fire that burned just like that second date. I was in love. But then we got married and everything changed. Marriage, quicker than I was ready for, did this thing. It started sucking away that emotion. I tried so hard to keep that fire going, to keep that emotion alight, but it got harder and harder. I mean, you can feel the burning love when you're sitting at the table discussing how to use that last $20 in your bank account. How can you feel it when you get into an argument? How can you feel it when you think it makes perfect sense to put your socks on first after you're done with them? And she has this crazy idea that they need to go into the laundry basket. There was no way I can keep that dating fire burning as practicality invaded our lives. And at first, it drove me nuts. That emotion, that emotion meant love. That excitement was how I knew I cared for her. But suddenly, life was this grind. Even when I was with her, especially when I was with her, and even worse, it seemed that the harder I tried to be sentimental and lovey-dovey, the less it was reciprocated. As we can see, Nahorai thought that love was the burning fire or emotion he felt at the beginning of their courtship. He came to realize later on that this emotion was ultimately unsustainable, and the lack of such a feeling began to take a toll on his relationship. However, when he changed his actions, the emotions he was looking for began to manifest in his relationship. This change, this change in perception came about when he had offered to do the dishes or make dinner after she had a hard day, or once we had a daughter, when I shared the responsibility of watching her, watching over her. I don't think I noticed this consciously for a while. It just kept happening. But I think it had an effect on me because as our marriage progressed, I found myself offering to help out around the house more and more. And each time there would be this look she would give me, this look of absolute love, one that was soft and so beautiful. It took me longer than I cared to admit to understand what was happening, but eventually it became clear. Through giving, through doing things for my wife, the emotion that I had been so desperately seeking naturally came about. It wasn't something I could force, just something that would come about as a result of my giving. After this experience, he came to realize that he really didn't love his wife at the beginning. As Nahorai further stated, he didn't love his wife because love isn't an emotion. That fire I felt, it was simply that, emotional fire. From the excitement of dating a woman I felt like I could marry, but it wasn't love. By Indo-European standards, he was in love, as love in this language family is simply lust, covetousness, desire, wish, praise, etc. We can see how this initial interpretation of love guided his actions and evoked a certain type of emotional response that was misleading. Only when he began to do love did he realize what love was. By his own words, love isn't an emotion or even a noun, it's a verb. Better defined as as putting someone else's needs above your own. We will discover later linguistically how correct he is as it regards to its conclusion. All right, so y'all gonna have to bear with me because you got some charts. It's a Medunetta or some Shesh Medunetta that I gotta, I got the transliterations, and that don't make it any easier because, words is tough. But I'm gonna skip.